I am always very careful to make this distinction. I talk about the assertive and aggressive nature of the Chinese government, not the Chinese people. You know, Chinese Australians are the greatest patriots you could hope for in this country. I remember being with Gladys early on in the pandemic. You'll remember we were down at Box Hill. It was February of 2020. I mean, the pandemic at that stage had not yet hit the rapid escalation in this country that we were seeing in others. But you know, as Chinese Australians who were coming back out of Wuhan and coming back out of China and returning, they saved Australia as much as anyone else in the way that they came home and the way that they took precautions, whether it was here in Melbourne or was up in Hurstville or up there in Ryde or other parts of the country. I am enormously grateful to the way that Chinese community leaders in Australia worked with the government so carefully during the course of the pandemic and played such an important role in those early phases of the pandemic. So, Claire, I agree with you. I mean, Chinese Australians, they're Australians. They're Australians and they're proud about it being Australians, and I'm proud of them. I'm proud of what they have done for our country. I'm proud of what they've achieved for our country. And so that's why I draw a sharp and distinct line between the actions of an authoritarian government that is seeking to be coercive against Australia and to interfere in our region, and the wonderful Chinese people. Chinese Australians here have family in China. They know what it's like to live under authoritarian government. That's why so many of them have come to Australia in the first place. Gladys herself understands and grieves terribly for what we are seeing in Hong Kong. And that's why the Australian government has stood up for the people of Hong Kong, stood up for the people of Xinjiang, stood up for those who are oppressed in China, and stood up for human rights. And there's no group of people in Australia more passionate about standing up for their fellow those of Chinese heritage in China who live under that regime.